all those involved in collecting a data should have the same measuring equipment. Is it important or not? Very important.
Yes, right.
If it is not important, automatically reproducibility error will start happening. Knowingly, you will commit reproducibility error. We should not do any mistake knowingly, right? And so all of us should have the same gauge, same resolution. 1 second. So in order to do the data collection, let me get another file. So I'll give some instruction like how we did Kaizen and then played the, what do you call, our 5S. I will now play a song from my side. I will play a song. The moment I play a song, you all can hear it. What I'm giving now is the operational definition. The moment I play the song, you all can hear it. The moment you hear the song, I want all of you to switch on your stopwatch. Before that, you can reset it. Keep it at 0. The moment I play the song, you need to start your stopwatch. The moment the song comes to an end, you need to stop your watch and give me your reading. Is that operational instruction clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I want all of you to participate, but I will take few of your readings and all others. You can retain your readings and you can assess yourself. So we go for the first one. Let me remove the old data. One second. Okay, I'm ready now. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So we go for the first song. Okay, first song. Let me play. 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Thank you, sir.
We'll go to the calculation, and also we'll see one case study, and then you will become a master of this, and you can design. As I always say, as a black belt, you must create your tool, which will work best for your process. You must find out. Okay. Now I go back. Just a second. Very good. All right. I want to calculate sigma, which is a statistics. Actually, the recommended symbol for standard deviation of your sample is capital S, not sigma. Because S I will use for statistics, sigma I will use for parameter. But don't mind the mistake here, because we often say standard deviation is sigma. That's why it is sigma. Actually, it is yes.
Yes.
Right.
Capital.
Now, the overall standard deviation, I want to know. What is overall standard deviation? Will include repeatability error and reproducibility error. How to calculate repeatability error? Is, let's say Alok has measured a product 10 times. Alok has measured a product 10 times, and there will be 10 readings with Alok from single product. And so I will calculate the sigma. That is the sigma repeatability of Alok. Same way, each appraiser will have amount of repeatability error with each product. So in order to capture everything, what I do is I will use all the data, but in a particular way. Probably you will understand that when I show you the data. So now I will calculate the standard deviation using all the data given by each appraiser for each part. Part wise, appraiser wise, I will calculate a sigma. That will be repeatability sigma. That will be repeatability sigma. Imagine Alok measured part number 1 10 times. Part number 2 10 times. Part number 3 10 times. Now how many readings came from Alok? 30 readings.
30.
First 10 from part number 1, next 10 from part number 2, next 10 from part number 3. Now Alok will have sigma 1, sigma 2, sigma 3. Clear? And now I will combine all the three. That will be the repeatability error committed by Alok. But that is again not the repeatability error, that is representative of the repeatability error. Because sigma is only sample statistics. What I am interested is total error. Always for total error, after getting my sigma, I will multiply by 6. Right. Now repeatability of each appraiser can be calculated, and then later on I will combine. That will be the overall repeatability error. Same way, each appraiser will have an average with respect to each part. There are 3 parts. So for each part, there are 10 appraiser. I will have 10 averages for each part. The difference in the average, the deviation in the average is the reproducibility error. So each operator will have a reproducibility error for each part. I will combine that. That will be the reproducibility sigma. How to combine? We'll do a case study. So now, once I have repeatability sigma and reproducibility sigma, I have to combine them so that I will call it as overall error. I will call it as overall measurement error. Always deviation can be positive, deviation can be negative, but both the side it is error. When I measure more, it's a problem. When I measure less, it's a problem. So standard deviation should be squared before adding. Standard deviation, there are 2 standard deviation, and I square and then add, one for repeatability, one for reproducibility. And then after squaring, adding, I take a square root. The resulting number is called overall standard deviation, right? And now this overall standard deviation, I will multiply by 6. You know the reason already. That is called total measurement error your system may commit while collecting data during the project. I have still not collected the data. All that I have done is collected some sample data. I know how my people will work. And so what are they going to achieve? I am estimating. 6 into sigma error is the total measurement error. It is otherwise called as precision error, because repeatability and reproducibility are elements of precision error. Now, imagine we conduct the exam and you score 45 mark. Is it a good mark? Exam is conducted and you have scored 45. Are you happy with the score?
No.
No,
Why no? Because
it's only passing.
60 is the pass mark, you got 45, right? But when I say you got 45 out of 50, are you now happy?
Yes.
Yes, we are happy.
So always denominator is required to take effective decision. Without denominator, you might go wrong. Your score is really beautiful. 45 out of 50 is great, but earlier you said you didn't like. So always you must have a denominator for every metric. Ratio is the best way of measuring. Don't just look at number, always look at certain ratio. So I compare my precision with the tolerance. What is precision? You know, 6 sigma. But what is tolerance? USL minus LSL. You know USL, right? Your customer has given. You know LSL, your customer has given. The difference between USL and LSL. For example, 100 is the dimension your customer wants. Plus or minus 0.5 is the tolerance your customer has given. Now, what is USL? 100.5. What is LSL?
99.5.
So, what is the tolerance your customer has given?
1.
Very good. And your tolerance is 1 mm and error is 0.2 mm. Total error is 0.2 mm. Now, what is the percentage of your error your system has committed with respect to the tolerance?
20%.
20%. 20% is not acceptable or conditionally acceptable. What is acceptable is 10% or even less. This ratio is called precision tolerance ratio. This precision tolerance ratio is otherwise called as gauge R&R. All of you understand what is gauge R&R? Precision tolerance ratio. You know how to calculate the tolerance. You also know how to calculate the precision. This ratio needs to be less than 10%. If it is less than 10%, you are sure your data is speaking the fact, reality. Otherwise, you must be cautious. Your data is giving you false alarm. You should know when your data will give false alarm, when the measurement error is too much. And industry standard is less than 10% is acceptable always. More than 30% is unacceptable always. Never do a project with a measurement system having a gauge R of more than 30%. The project itself should be titled as improving the measurement system. Clear? Don't get into an improvement project when you have a problem with measurement system. Project title itself should be improving measurement systems accuracy and precision. That is the title. So 10 to 30% conditionally acceptable. Now I want somebody to tell me where. So green and red are very clear. When gauge R&R is less than 10%, I am feeling good. More than 30%, I am very sure I should not use this measurement system. Rather, I will either replace the measurement system or run a project to improve the measurement system and then come back to my original project. What is the meaning of the middle one, 10 to 30%? Can somebody highlight on that? When will I consider my data as conditionally acceptable? Come on, please. If you are the head in the company, your project team's measurement error is 25%. Will you ask them to proceed further, or will you ask them to stop the project, or what will you do?
So it depends on the sample size. If the sample size is pretty high, in that case, it is okay to go with 10 to 30% as well. But if the sample size is less, then obviously I need more accuracy.
Okay, so he may be correct. He says my situation is allowing me to have an error of 25% because the improvement what I am targeting is still bigger. That's your point, am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, people may be correct. So what else? What are the other situations I can still go ahead with the same measurement system? Come on, few more can share your viewpoint. What will you do if you are in a position? I will. Yeah.
We will look at which is the contributor. Is it the reproducibility or the repeatability, and address that portion to increase or to reduce the error.
Perfect. That comes next. But now my question is, now your measurement error is 25%. I don't want you to reduce it further. Will you, if you want to go with the second line, that is 10 to 30%, it says conditionally acceptable. When will you accept 25% of error? What could be a situation that can make you accept even 25% error?
Looking into the time and cost, which will be impacted.
Oh, when I have to replace my measurement system, the cost associated is very high. My company cannot afford. So I will adjust with my measurement system. That is your point. Am I right?
Correct. And the time taken as well.
Yes, it's time taken. So for correcting the system, it takes 3 months, 4 months. But my project is very urgent. I have to run it and deliver. So those are the situations. See, situation most of the time drives our approach. We may be correct, we may be wrong, but situation drives. I'm only trying to figure out what kind of situations you will feel that even the yellow color line will work for you. So I've heard from 2 people. Anyone else would like to contribute?
Sir, if the tolerances are more,
Wow. If the tolerances are more, good.
or maybe we have some unilateral tolerances.
Now you are talking statistics. Now Syed is talking statistics. Syed is not deciding based on situation, but he want to decide based on statistics. Whether my statistics is still in my favor. I know the situation, I know my challenges, I know my limitations, but still some occasions, my statistics will also support my decision, and that time I will go for the second condition. Even my error is 30%. Even when I have a error of 30%, still if it is not going to affect my decision, I will tolerate that. Am I correct?
Yes.
If the error doesn't affect my product quality, I will tolerate that error. If the error doesn't affect my customer satisfaction, I will tolerate that error. Otherwise not. Forget about all your situation answers. Your answer should be statistical only. Situation answers, I know. That's how even I will work. But the perfect way is you must figure out the statistical answer. So what is that statistical answer? You should be very sure that whether the output that is going to come out of your factory is not going to impact your customer satisfaction negatively because of the measurement error. If it is not going to impact, I will still tolerate the error, but I also understand my responsibility to bring it under 10%, right? And now let us understand. Same situation, 99.5 is LSL, 100.5 is USL. This is called my specification zone. That means I am going to produce product between the two. If I produce beyond 100.5, automatically it will be rejected by my customer. That is called external failure. Left side also, below 99.5, that is also external failure. And now USL and LSL are understood. And now see the specification zone. Within the specification zone, I cut 10% on the left side and 10% on the right side, the gray area. Specification zone is how much? 1 mm. So what will be this length? Can somebody tell me this arrow mark length? 10% of 1 mm is
0.1.
0.1. This 0.1 is called uncertainty zone. 0.1 can be left side, 0.1 can be right side. Put together, this is called uncertainty zone. What is uncertainty? Your decision can easily go wrong because of which. Similarly, you have uncertainty zone on the left side, and in between you have conformance zone. In between you have conformance zone. And outside is non-conformant zone on the right. Similarly, non-conformant zone on the left. Is it clear to all of you? Yes.
Yes.
Now imagine your error is only 10%. Your error is only 10%. And here is 0.1, here also 0.1. Let us say you produced a product here. What could be the dimension of this product at this point? Can somebody make a guess? Will it be less than 100.5 or more than 100.5?
Less than.
Less than
Less than.
100.5.
Can you give me a sample value of less than 100.5, which can lie exactly at the red color line?
100.4. 100.4.
Okay,
100.45.
very good, beautiful. I take 100.45 to be safer on the center. 100.45. Now 100.45 is the true value. Your quality inspectors are measuring the product. They commit an error of 10% because you calculated, you estimated it. What is 10% of that error, which is 0.1? 100.45, either they will add 0.1 or they will subtract 0.1. If they subtract 0.1, they will place this product on the left side. Am I right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
then they will accept the product. Suppose if they add the error, they will place the product on the right side. Now what is right side? Your product will now be rejected. Now, but what is the reality? Your product is
Uncertain.
acceptable. The product is acceptable, but your team has rejected. Your decision is getting affected. Do you still feel the error is okay for you? Even 10% is changing your decision. Do you understand? Even 10%, though AAG says, for my company, that 10% is also not helping me. That 10% make me a wrong decision. I think that my product is good, or I think that my product is bad, but no, I do the opposite. My product is good, I reject it. But my product is bad, I send it to my customer. Am I doing favor to my business with my measurement? Damaging. So it is not always advisable to produce product closer to the specification. Because even if you produce a good product, still your quality team can reject it. You are increasing that uncertainty more. So if I produce like this, it is not advisable. Am I right?
Yes.
So I won't do this. I will try to produce everything far inside the specification limit. That is why we are always interested in seeing where is our control limit. If my control limit is well inside, right? Well inside means, see my uncertainty zone. Earlier it was only this much. And now what happens? All my readings are well inside the uncertainty zone. Now, when my products are here, when I produce something here, let's say I produce something here, the red line is here. Now my quality team is committing an error, adding 10%. Where will they place my product? Here.
The UCL.
Does it affecting your decision? Does it affecting your customer experience?
No.
Are you losing business?
No.
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 You are not doing, any misfavor to your business. But measurement error is there. That is why it is important to keep your control limit well inside the specification limit. Never go closer to the danger zone. If you are sure that your control limit is far inside, even 30% error cannot affect the decision, cannot affect the customer satisfaction. It is only at that moment you can accept 10 to 30% error. Now, do you understand the statistical meaning?
Yes.
It is, we are thinking more than money, more than situation, right? Of course, money, situation, your boss opinion, everything is important, but correct is correct, right? And this is the statistical meaning. So now you understand when to go with the 10%, when to go with the 10 to 30, and when to go with more than 30. You can always take the right decision. But still, as someone was saying, I think Mr. Krishna Prasad was saying, he will try to improve. There's even 10 to 30, though it is conditionally acceptable, he wanted to improve. It's a good attitude. We must improve. So how can I improve? Using the same data, I will analyze whether my repeatability is high or my reproducibility is high. If it is repeatability, now who is that culprit? Whether it is operator 1 or operator 2, who is more not repeatable or who is committing more repeatability error? I will give him a special training. Who is not aligning with the system, thereby my reproducibility goes wrong. All that I will do. So when you keep your measurement system under control, you can avoid heated arguments with your vendors, heated arguments with your suppliers, heated arguments with your consumers. How they measure, the same way you should measure. What they reading they get, the same thing you must get. That means your measurement system is in order. Right. Now let us get into a small case, a simple case. I really don't want you to do all these calculations manually because Minitab will do. You can do it in Minitab. And now see here, there are 2 products here. Sorry, 5 products. Part number 1, part number 2, part number 3, part number 4, and part number 5. How many quality checkers? Inspector 1, Inspector 2. And each product, Inspector 1 measures 2 times. Similarly, Inspector 2 also measures 2 times. So Inspector 1 produced 10 reading, Inspector 2 produced 10 readings. Now, what is repeatability here? What is reproducibility here? Shall we calculate? Are you interested to understand the calculation?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Or if it is boring, you can use Minitab. Will understand?
Yes.
Fine. So what I want is, and this is required, we'll come to the average later on, but first let us calculate the repeatability. Now, there are 2 readings, these 2 readings. These 2 readings are not same. So this is called what? Repeatability error. Now, since there are very less number of reading, instead of calculating standard deviation, please calculate range. When to prefer range over standard deviation? If the number of readings in your hand are less than 8. Is that clear? If the number of readings in your hand are less than 8, don't calculate standard deviation. Instead, calculate range. Range is the difference. How much is the difference here?
0.4.
0.4.
Right. Now for the second reading, you can calculate. It's same, so range is 0. So you have 5 ranges from Inspector 1. Clear? More the range, more the error. Am I right?
Yeah.
More the range, more the error. So I am going to convert this information into error. and wait for it. Similarly, inspector 2, he has 5 range. Totally how many range? 10 ranges. 10 ranges. Now I will calculate the average of the ranges. Is it possible?
Yes.
Yes.
10 ranges, I will take the average. That is called R bar. That is called R bar. Now this R bar, I must divide by a factor called D2. A factor called D2. And this D2, I have a table. This table is developed by our forefathers. You don't have to really worry how they developed. You can use it because sometimes it is better follow the philosophies and beliefs. We should not doubt. So definitely there is a relationship between range and standard deviation. Of course, that much you are clear, right? Range and standard deviation, there is a relationship because both are variation. And now, how many ranges you have? 10 ranges. So go to the 10th row. What is your readings, repeat readings? How many repetitions you have done for every part?
2 readings.
2 repetitions.
So 2 repetition, there are 10 ranges. So the number is 1.16. That's how the 1.16 came here. Do you understand?
Yeah.
R bar by D2 gives you the standard deviation. You can always convert the range into standard deviation by dividing the range by a factor or statistical constant called D2. This is how we find out the standard deviation while plotting the control chart also. Famous formula is standard deviation equal to R bar by D2. So 0.44. Actually, the 10 is very simple. The formula is number of parts into number of inspector. Number of parts is how many? 5. Number of inspector is 2. 5 into 2, 10. I gave a shortcut. Number of ranges calculated is 10 and so go to 10. Both are same. Somehow you understood it is 1.16. Now, sigma is understood. We know when sigma is understood, we multiply by 6 to understand the total estimated repeatability error. I multiply by 6, that will give me the repeatability error. If you refer to literature, they might multiply by any number they want because I told you already, multiplying with any number is correct. Any number more than, I would say more than 5 is correct because you will be already closer to 100%. When I multiply by 6, I am closer to 100%. I mean, my confidence level is 99.73. When I multiply by 5.15, my confidence level is 99. Few years back, people were using 5.15, and that's why I have 5.15 here. Nothing wrong in it. Do you understand? I can use 5.15. It means now my confidence level is 99%. When I use 6, it is much more. So 5.15 into 0.4, 2.266. What is this? Repeatability error. Where from I got it? Sigma repeatability. What is sigma repeatability? You have seen in the calculation. This is how you must get it. Now we move on to reproducibility. So 1.16 we understood. Probably for reproducibility, we will use 1.41. I will tell you how it is. Let us go to the situation. Now I need the average. You see, operator 1 for part number 1, he has 2 reading. So I take the average. You can add, divide by 2. How many average? 5 average. Again below 5 average. What is reproducibility? The difference between the operator. Difference between the operator is called reproducibility. And how to find out the difference between the operator? He has 5 reading and I have 5 reading. How will I do? I will calculate the average of operator 1 and then grand average of operator 2 and find out the difference. When there are 5 averages operator 1 has got, I will calculate the grand average. See here, 118.79. You know how this 118.79 came? Average of the 5 averages. Similarly, 118.90 average of these 5 reading. Already each number is average. Now 5 averages. And now I calculate average of the average. And now 1 average here, 1 average here. Now I calculate the range between the average. Are we measuring correctly? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes.
We are trying to understand the difference between inspector 1 and inspector 2. Right. So the range I calculate, range is nothing but difference between the average. How much is the range? A small value, 0.11.
11.
How to convert the range into standard deviation? R by D2. What is D2? A statistical constant already developed. Now, how many ranges you have in your hand?
2.
Only one. Number of repeat readings here also 2. Go back to your table. Do you see 1.41?
Yeah.
So use that 1.41 and then 0.078 is your reproducibility sigma. Is your reproducibility sigma. You multiply that by 5.15. You know why I am multiplying by 5.15? That's an estimated error, right? 5.15 into this R by D2 value. But going deeper with the calculation, you don't have to be this much, get into this much detail, but this is statistics, this is calculation, this is mathematics. When I calculate reproducibility, I only used the average. But average came from original reading. Every average came from 2 reading. Am I right? So bit difference between the average is reproducibility, but every average is calculated using 2 repeat readings. So there is some repeatability error already accumulated in your average. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So I must subtract that small portion of the repeatability error that may accumulate because of my calculation. So I am subtracting this. That repeatability I already know, but I know a small portion will get repeated because I make use of the averages. So there is a relationship developed again. Again, it is a statistical formula. So 5.15 into sigma E. Sigma E is repeatability sigma and divided by number of parts into number of repeat reading, n into r. So you just use this and now finally what happens? You get a negative value. That means negative value means it's almost 0. In this case, your operators are almost the perfect level. You see, there is a small difference only they are keeping. That's why your reproducibility is getting vanished. Now I need to combine. Now see, when you want to combine, here what you have is sigma. How will you combine sigma of reproducibility with the sigma of repeatability? I square them separately, add them, take the square root. I square them, add them, and take the square root. Finally, I know the overall precision is only this only will retain. You will be able to retain 0.44 because reproducibility is 0. If it is not 0, I will combine it. And so reproducibility is 0, but repeatability is there. Precision error is maybe 6 into or 5.15 into 0.44. Precision is understood. Now refer to your tolerance. Divided by the tolerance, that will be your gauge R and R. Will you be able to calculate?
Yes.
Okay, so this is to understand about the calculations behind gauge R and R. Now,
Sir, one question. Sorry for interrupting.
no problem. Yes.
So can we go back to the earlier slide? Yeah. Now here, what we have taken into account is that we are subtracting the repeatability error from the R0 by D2 or R by D2.
Yes.
That is reproducibility minus repeatability squared off and then taken square.
Correct.
Now, when we are calculating the what do you call? Again, we are squaring. Again, we are combining both repeatability and reproducibility. Once we have subtracted here, the repeatability we have subtracted once here, yes, and then again finally we are adding the square to get the total impact. So does it not anyway neutralize it?
No, I got your question, but yes, a good question. See, repeatability is one form of error that we have clearly figured out. We know it is 0.44. We are not subtracting entire thing there. Now we are in the process of calculating reproducibility. For calculating reproducibility, I made use of only the averages.
Okay.
I made use of only the averages. Suppose if the number of repeat readings are 2, my average comes from 2 reading. Suppose if repeat readings are 3, my average will come from 3 reading, isn't it?
Mhm.
So average is nothing but central point in your reading. That's all. Center of your reading.
Correct.
So since I just take the center, see here, this reading, definitely has the repeatability issue.
Right.
When I take the center, half of the repeatability issue I am carrying in my average. Am I right?
Right.
So this unnecessary carrying of the repeatability component should be eliminated from your reproducibility component. That's only that portion I am trying to eliminate here. I am not simply subtracting the repeatability error which we calculated already. No, that is different. No confusion there. We measure the repeatability. But here, when I measure the reproducibility, I am not using the real data. I am using only the average.
Correct.
And so that is an approximation. That approximation, I am trying to perfect it by bringing a new element in my formula.
Okay.
Right? And that's
Okay.
how I go close to reality.
So
Right.
that is what you say is in statistics, while calculating mean, sample mean, we are putting n-1. Like that, this is.
Yes, n-1, that's altogether a different subject. N-1 is called degree of freedom.
Okay. No, to arrive those kind of assumption only here also. Because to arrive.
Exactly, beautiful. Why we go for n-1? We know always our sample value will differ from the population value.
Population.
So
Yeah.
that's why instead of n, we change the formula to n-1. Exactly. See, statistics is never 100% accurate. Please understand.
So
We are only trying to go closer to the reality. We will never say, no, my decision is 100% confident. It is not mathematics, it is only statistics. So you don't need to really worry about each and everything. This is based on experience. In your company, you will have hundreds of thumb rules. Am I right?
Yeah.
If I question each thumb rule, you will not be able to explain. But you are correct there. It is your experience. It is called empirical relationship. These formulas are empirical in nature. You can use it. You can trust them. You can use it. We believe our parents. We believe our grandfathers. And likewise, you should believe these statisticians' opinion.
Even before making that data, we are in normal circumstances or a little bit slight dynamic business environment, we are removing outliers. That is also
Perfect.
outliers, because making it, if it is a highly dynamic environment, statistics won't hold good because the outliers will be more. So what is the normal circumstance? In business scenario, you cannot create the control kind of experiment. So whatever may be the outliers we are removing, and what are all the reality situation we are arriving that reality situation based on the data.
We always, statistics we have to use carefully. What is that we want to understand? Accordingly, we must use our data. If it is an analysis, I know the data contains an outlier. I will exclude the outlier and do my analysis. But if the outlier itself is is representing my measurement error, after all, I am calculating the measurement error. My outlier is also probably due to a wrong measurement, I got an outlier. But what is my objective now? I want to quantify the measurement error. Now I will include my outlier. You understand? But when my requirement is not measuring the error, but I really want to understand what is happening in real time, I will decide not to include the outlier. Do you understand?
Yeah.
If I want to understand the error, I will include outlier. If I want to understand the fact, I will remove the outlier, right? But of course, once you are used to many tools, you will automatically learn to handle the data. I want to go for some extra minutes now. Is it all right for all of you? Another 15 minutes?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you. Suppose if my data contains error, I know it is more than 30%. or it is 20%, still I want to control. How will I control? Using the same data, I will generate certain graphs. You can generate 6 graphs like this. What is this first graph called? Can somebody name out? What is it a Pareto?
Histogram.
Is it a histogram? It is a bar chart.
Bar chart.
How a bar chart is different from histogram?
Histogram, two frequency level that is joined the frequency levels. Here, separate is there.
No, both talks about the frequency in the y-axis, but what is the difference? The difference is in the x-axis.
Yeah.
In your histogram, x-axis will be the same category.
Yeah.
Same category. Generally, it is a continuous data.
Okay.
Here in y-axis, you have different category.
Yes. Got it.
Different category, we call them attribute data. We call them attribute data. You have different attributes. It can be January, it can be February, this can be March. Then it is bar chart. This is 100 mm, this is 102 mm, this is 104 mm. That is continuous data. 100 also diameter, 102 also diameter, 104 also diameter. Then it is histogram. Now you understand the difference between histogram and bar chart. This is a bar chart. This bar chart can let you understand which is dominating in the error. Whether repeatability is dominating or reproducibility is dominating. Why do you want to know? Then you can take action accordingly. So gives broader picture of the error. This is called a control chart. It helps you to check the repeatability of the appraiser. Appraiser 1, if he is repeatable, all his reading will be close to the center. Appraiser 1, part 1, close to the center. But appraiser 1, part 2, not close to the center. Do you understand? So he is more repeatable, but here he is experiencing a problem. He has come far away from the center. So it checks the repeatability of the appraiser. So you, by reading the graph, you can take correct decision. What can be done? How can I bring down repeatability? How can I bring down reproducibility? If I bring down both, my gauge R&R will bring down. Third one, when this is R chart means range chart. This is X bar chart. It checks the ability of the measurement system to differentiate between good and bad. We'll talk about this. Then this is called a dot plot. Dot plot, you can call it response, part-wise response. Part number 1 measured by 3 operator. Part number 1 measured by 3 operator, and each part is measured 3 times. Now tell me, it's measured by 3 operator and each operator measured 3 times. Totally how many readings are here?
3.
Not 3. Part number 1 measured by 3 times by operator 1, 3 times by operator 2, 3 times by operator 3. There are 9. In an ideal situation, all 9 readings should be same. Why? All are same product only. How can you give different reading? So this gives you part-wise response received from your measurement system. Now you understand what is the expectation here? We want them to look like this way. Am I right? Everything is closer, but here the worst condition. So it helps you to check the part-wise reproducibility of the appraiser. Where the reproducibility is lagging, particularly part number 10, there is a big issue. Train your people on measure the 10th category of the parts you may produce. Got it? Fine. And this is called a box plot, and this is called interaction plot. We'll see them one by one. Now bar chart. There are 3 bars available: a blue color bar, a red color bar, and a yellow color bar. First one is blue color is based on variance. Red color and yellow color is based on standard deviation. The rule guideline I have taught you, the guideline given by AIAG is based on standard deviation, not on variance. Of course, for variance also there is a rule, but for standard deviation, gauge R&R should be less than 10%. Right? What is the relationship between standard deviation and variance? Can somebody tell me? Which is the
Standard
square of,
variance is square of the deviation.
beautiful. Variance is the square of the standard deviation. So you can talk about your error in terms of standard deviation, in terms of variance, or in terms of range. Our discussion is in terms of standard deviation. So this blue color we are not going to use. And now within the red and yellow, what is our denominator? Denominator is tolerance. What is the tolerance? USL minus LSL. If you know USL and LSL, use the yellow color. If you don't know USL and LSL, you can use red color. Is that clear? Now, all of you will be knowing USL, LSL. Am I correct? So
Yes.
remove the remaining.
Yes.
Read only the yellow color. Now tell me, what is your opinion? What is this bar represents? What is this bar represents? Gauge R&R means you know, right? The measurement error is this much. It is somewhere around 40% or something. But what is this? This is the problem you want to attack. This is your capital Y. And this is your measurement error. When you allow this to grow, you can't see this properly. But now we separated and we are seeing. Right? You want to see that this bar is shorter compared to this. That is what we say 10%. But one thing which will not happen here is when you add all the three, it won't be 100%. Repeatability, reproducibility, and part to part. When you add all the three, it will never be 100%. That's why I already told you statistical sum is different from algebraic sum. Clear? So since it is in terms of standard deviation, it won't add up and you won't get 100%. If you want to get 100%, then you must convert everything into variance, then it will tally. So don't expect the tallying here. So now gauge R&R is smaller compared to real problem. Somewhat okay. But within the gauge R&R, your repeatability is this much, reproducibility this much. Which is more, repeatability or reproducibility?
Repeatability.
This is your inference from this graph. That's all. Now we move on. Second graph. Now when repeatability is more, you can take some action, right? You can go deeper, but for going deeper, we come here. Now R chart by operator. What is this first reading? First product measured 3 times by operator number 1.
Okay.
When all that, our expectation is everything should be close to the center. If the range is more, then you will see the point moving away from the center, because the center is R bar. You align, see, we are not aiming accuracy now. We are aiming for consistency. We are trying to develop a system. System may be accurate or inaccurate. That's different. That we will deal separately. System should function as a system. If fail, everybody should fail. If succeed, everybody should succeed. That is called a system, right? So I want everything to be around the center. If it is moving away from the center, it will be a problem. And now tell me, operator 1, operator 2, operator 3. Who is better from your opinion? 1 is better, or 2 is better, or 3 is better?
2.
2 is better. Why 2 is better? Most of his readings are close to the center. So I will say 2 is more repeatable. And who is next? Who is next better? 1 or 3?
Operator 3.
Operator 3 is better. And so who is worst?
1.
Operator 1.
Now you understand where from the repeatability comes, isn't it? Who should be trained more? 1 or 2 or 3?
1.
1 should be taught more on how to handle the workpiece, how to handle the gauge, how to take the reading. So repeatability will come down. Do you get? Yes?
Yes.
Very good. Now, at the same time, you are a black belt. You should never become a slave for the tool. Now, I'm going to give a different perspective now. Look at the second graph. Can you understand? All his points are going like a straight line.
Yes.
What does it mean?
Consistently
Very
maintaining.
good. Imagine you are inside an ICU ward in a hospital. You are inside an ICU ward in a hospital. Do you see some graph like this in the ICU ward?
ECG graph will be.
Yes, it's going up and down.
Right.
It's going up and down. But for one patient, it is going a flat.
He's dead.
Now our operator 2 is doing something abnormally. Though his readings are found to be okay, as a black belt, I am still able to figure out he is doing something abnormally. Clear? He is not
Yes.
giving you the readings as it is. Maybe he is a smart guy. He knows that he is getting assessed. So you should be very careful. First of all, in conducting the measurement system validation procedure, you should never let them know that they are getting assessed. Clear? Don't tell them that they are getting assessed. Casually, in a daily routine, you must make them do the job for you. You bring the data and analyze it in your cabin. Right. So this is how you must analyze, and then you can take some action. This is how this graph is helping. Now here this graph checks the repeatability of upriser. It monitors the within upriser variation. Every point talks about the within upriser. Within upriser means repeatability. If each repeatability is controlled, overall repeatability will be under control. Now X bar chart. What is X bar chart is helping you? Each point here is an average. See here, this is first point measured by first operator 3 times. So this point is average of the 3. This is second point is average of the 3 readings from part number 2. It goes like this. Here the expectation is your X bar chart should throw out at least 50% of the points outside control limit. Do you know why? Earlier our expectation is all the points should be closer to the center. Here our expectation is at least 50% should be outside the control limit. Why it should come outside the control limit? How did you choose the product for a measurement system analysis? Who selected the product? You only selected it. You selected and you made them to measure. You should know how to select the product. Now tell me, will you select the product from left extreme to right extreme, covering the entire extreme, or will you select only one product?
Selected between the right and left extreme.
Very good. I need to select the product from left extreme till right extreme. Otherwise, what will happen? I will not be able to understand how my people measure good product and how my people measure bad product. Both I want to know. If my product is picked up from the center, these are all good. If my products are picked up from the right extreme, these are all probably bad, comparatively bad. I want to know how my people are measuring the good as well as measuring the bad. Your team should measure every product and classify them as good and bad correctly. Am I correct? A good product should be measured as good and bad product should be measured as bad. If you write the exam correctly, I must qualify you for the certification. If you write the exam badly, what should I do? I should disqualify you from getting the certificate, right? Then only, I am doing my job correctly. Otherwise, what will happen? The output will be a mix-up of good and bad. That's not the purpose of measurement system. Is that happening correctly or not? See here, all the bad one, all the products you picked up from the right and left extreme are thrown out of the control limit. Do you see that is happening in your measurement system? A candidate not doing well is failed. A candidate doing well is placed in the better position. This should happen in your measurement system. When I mix up 50% bad item and 50% good item, 50% will come out. When I mix 40-60, 60 will come out. When I mix 30-70, generally we take 50-50, I mean equal proportion, Generally, that's why the rule is 50% should come out. Can you see that 50% coming out from all the operators? 1, 2, and 3. That means your measurement system is good. Now response by part. First part, 3 times from the operator 1. Same first part, 3 times from operator 2. 9 reading. See, all of them measured the same product. Ideally, it should look like a pile of coins. I just arrange 9 1 rupee coin, one over the other. When I look from the top, it should look like one single coin. But it is looking like this here. Look at the 10th part. I don't know, they are struggling a lot. 10th product, maybe the extreme output, your team is measuring in a different way. So this is leading to what? Repeatability or reproducibility? You want to control the reproducibility, then you must improve the way your team is measuring part number 1. Where they are better reproducible? 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. Which one? Where they are better
Part 6 and
reproducible?
7. Part 6 and 7.
Beautiful. 6 and 7, they are doing fair. But 10, the worst. The next, probably 8 and 5. You get an idea what to do to improve the measurement. Because this is what they are going to measure during the project. Isn't it? So you correct them well in advance, your error will come down. It checks the part-wise reproducibility of the appraiser, and thereby, part 6 and 7, very good. You figured out correctly, and 10 is the worst. So you are able to control the repeatability as well as reproducibility. Now, what is this diagram? Box plot. Operator 1 measured 3 parts, each 3 times. So how many readings operator 1 has produced from part number 1? 9.
9.
How many parts he measured? 10 parts.
10.
9 into 10?
90.
Okay.
90.
Oh, really? So each operator gave 90 reading. Is it so? 10 parts. No. 10 parts, each part 3 times. So operator 1 gave 30 readings.
30.
So all 30 readings you have used and you created a box plot. What is box plot? A box plot, contains a line in the center. This line is called median. Today you will be taught what is a median by Dr. RK. Dr. RK's coaching will be more of statistics, more of mathematics. There are a lot of value in it only when you respect his sessions. If you don't pay proper attention, all his sessions will be boring and you will get disconnected and you will go out with 0 learning. Whatever I teach will be meaningful only when you know statistics, only when you know mathematics. Otherwise, yes, you spend time, you got the certificate, and again, you will work in the same manner in your company. So pay full attention when he is teaching what is median and ask more question. And this is median. The center value, average also a center, median also a center, mode also a center. But what is the difference? You must know. That will be taught to you today. We have arranged a module. Please pay full attention and understand. And this is average. This is median. This is called quartile 3. This is called quartile 1. You can ask him everything, or you can ask me, but not now, separately. And this median is otherwise called as quartile 2. How your first 25% is arranged, how your first quartile looks like, how your second quartile in your data looks like, how the third quartile looks like, and then what is beyond. You get some idea. Ideally, if all of you measure, all 3 operators measure in the same manner, my median, his median, and this fellow's median will be same. Or the average will be same. If that is not happening, we are disagreeing. We are not working as a system. Whether we are working correctly or not, I am not bothered. All of us should work in the same manner. Right? Whether it is correct or not, whatever my boss is telling, I will do that. That should happen. Then only we call it a system. It's a measurement system. So ideally, all the 3 average should lie in the perfect level. The line connecting the average should be horizontal. Clear? Now tell me who is pulling down your readings and who is contributing for the error, who is contributing for the reproducibility. Is it 1 and 3 or is it 2?
2.
2.
2 is differing from 1 and 3. Either 1 and 3 should follow 2 or 2 should follow 1 and 3. Am I correct?
Yes.
If anything happens, reproducibility will vanish. You will see the horizontal average in horizontal line. But which decision I should take? Should I advise 1 and 3 to follow 2 or should I advise 2 to follow 1 and 3? If you want to understand the answer for this question, the secret lies the way you select the product. How many products you selected?
30.
10 parts you selected.
Done.
If the 10 parts you select evenly, evenly means 5 on the right of the average, 5 on the left of the average, evenly spaced. When you select evenly, mean will be equal to median. When you select unevenly, mean will differ from median. Imagine I selected evenly. Mean should be equal to median. Now tell me who is correct.
2.
2 is correct. I will advise 1 and 3 to change. Suppose purposely when I selected four parts on the left side and 6 parts on the right side. Now mean will differ from median. Now 1 and 3 are correct. 2 is wrong. My advice will be now to operator 2, not 1 and 3. Do you understand how I should help my team? For that, I should have certain knowledge. Because you are the one who is doing this assessment called measurement system analysis. You are the one who selected the parts. How do you select? Triggers the decision, right? There is no common rule because you are playing the game. How do you play? You should also know how to score marks out of it. So it checks the overall reproducibility of appraiser. Operator 2 is not aligning with the team. I am saying this because I know my parts are evenly selected. Otherwise, instead of saying this, I will say that 1 and 3 are not aligning. 2 may be correct, isn't it? It depends. Now, interaction. This interaction is something you will understand in detail during the analysis phase. Generally, the blue color line represents operator 1. Red color line represents operator 2. Green color line represents operator 3. For part number 1, operator 1, he gave me 3 reading. And so this is the average of the reading. This is average of operator 2. This is average of operator 3 for part number 1. In fact, this graph is nothing but overlapping of all 3 X bar charts. Do you see the X bar chart? I overlap one graph over the other. If all of us are measuring the same product in the same way, let us commit error. Is it not important all of us commit at least the error in the same fashion?
Yes.
When I commit a error, positive bias, you should not give a negative bias. When I say 100 as 1 or 2, you should not say 98. What does it mean? We are completely against. At least we can commit error. At least our path should be same, whether that is happening or not. If that is not happening, that is called interaction. I completely differ against you. That is what we are seeing in this graph. Ideally, all the 3 lines should overlap. If not overlapping, at least they should be parallel. If not parallel, if there is an interaction, please note there is a complete disagreement. One is going in a positive direction, another one is going in a negative direction. So you should not be able to see the lines intersecting each other. You should not be able to see gaps between the lines. If all of them overlap, all 3 colors should look like a single color. One should overlap with the other. First problem is they are separated. Next problem is they are intersecting. Intersection should be addressed first and then parallelity should be reduced next. This is how you must analyze. So the main objective of the measure phase is validating the measurement system, and then only you must proceed with the measurement of baseline performance. Otherwise, you might think that your rejection is 12%, but actually rejection may be 18%. You should never do that mistake. And basic statistics is very important. Afternoon or tomorrow you will have a session. Give importance to all the statistical discussions. Otherwise, you can only say mean, median, and mode. but will not know the difference between the three, right? Among the three. That's very important. Statistics helps you to summarize the information with the central value. Central values are mean, median, and mode. And it helps you to assess the degree of variation. Range, standard deviation, and variance are the parameters that can help you understand the degree of variation. Only when central tendency and variation are understood, you can make comparison. Otherwise, your comparison is not fair. And the terms like bias, stability, and linearity are responsible for your accuracy in the reading. But precision, precision is result of your resolution and gauge R&R. You can be precise if the resolution is great, if the gauge R&R is less than 10%. You can be accurate if the bias is 0, if your readings are stable, if your readings are linear. So this will be discussed separately. Gauge R&R should be less than 10% of the tolerance, right? And generally tolerance is customer tolerance. Sometimes people work on process tolerance, sometimes people work on steady variation, but this is the best method, right? Customer tolerance. So that's it from the gauge R&R. Thank you for giving me extra time.